So in spring of 2017, St. Louis Public Library partnered with the Gateway Foundation to install the Mariposa sculpture. Mariposas is Spanish for butterflies. The architect designer is Manolo Valdez. And what it is this large stone head with this enormous 30-foot canopy of butterflies. So we have stone mixed with metallic butterflies. A really cool, just beautiful sculpture, right? In this very formal environment. And the initial environment was, and this is where it's been installed in other locations that it's resided in, is all grass. Now, all grass, all these butterflies, it didn't quite fit. Now, that's not an environment that you would ever find butterflies. So what the library decided to do was to make a butterfly garden. Now, initially that was the idea, just let's get something that butterflies would be in. But then we were taking a look at what some of the options were, looking at the science behind it, and what we realized is we didn't want just a butterfly garden, we wanted a pollinator garden. So that's what led us to today and the installation of the Pollinator Garden at Central Library. It consists of about 30 all native species. So everything in the garden you would have found in this area prior to human habitat. The focus of the garden, of course, is on native pollinators. A lot of the species that we have here are specific to certain native pollinators that are in the area, and we call that out in some of the programming literature that we have on the subject. So the garden at Central Library, the Pollinator Garden at Central Library, is unique because we have provided very deliberately everything a pollinator needs throughout its life. So we have provided flowering resources that bloom season long, starting in very early spring through the very end of fall, early winter. We have provided nesting resources. Some of the plants themselves are host plants, and the plants, or the pollinators, can use those plants as their home. But we've also intentionally left portions of the garden unmulched and unplanted. A lot of native pollinators are ground habiting insects, so they do need to make their homes underground. So another way that the Pollinator Garden at Central Library is unique is that we partnered with a lot of our local resources. One in particular is my wife. She is a professor at Webster University in town. Her name is Dr. Nicole Miller-Strutman, and she's an expert in pollination biology. So she was a wonderful resource to have as we designed the garden itself and some of the programming around it. We also partnered with the Missouri Botanical Garden, and they have some wonderful master naturalists who are very aware of the specific needs of a native garden. The garden is actually maintained mostly by volunteers who are part of the Master Gardeners Network of St. Louis, which is all coordinated through the Missouri Botanical Garden. So we have all of these partner resources that we were able to rely on here in St. Louis to not only have just an amazing garden itself, but just a nice network of individuals who are caretakers for the garden. So the Pollinator Garden is a demonstration garden that shows our community members, our customers, what it would look like if you tried to do this yourselves and kind of how to do it. It's also an obvious benefit to the ecosystem in the area because we're now part of a network of gardens throughout St. Louis that are providing resources for native pollinators and the non-native pollinators as well that rely on these resources. We are also working on various programming activities to connect with the community, children's activities such as understanding the whole process of pollination, understanding what just the plant life cycle is, but then also how they can take something home. One activity that we're planning is building bee nests for native bumblebees. And they can come to a library, build it, and then bring it on into their own homes. So a major initiative that we've done in summer of 2019 is we've created in-house an exhibit on pollination. It's called The Birds and the Bees, and it focuses on pollination, the whole process of pollination, native gardening, and the animals that are involved in pollination, i.e. pollinators. We tapped into the resources in our collection. We found some books that age back to the 1500s that we have on display that show what plants, how plants were communicated to readers in the past. Includes a lot of hand-drawn, just beautiful illustrations of plants. We also have an entire collection from the Smithsonian that we tapped into for the exhibit, and we found a number of native plants that were hand-drawn from the early 20th century. We also have on loan from St. Louis Zoo and from a citizen scientist various specimens of pollinators and various insects of interest. So people can get up close and personal and learn what these scary bugs are in a nice, safe environment. One thing that is really fun is we have a microscope in the exhibit hall in which we show a bombus impatiens, which is a type of bumblebee. And you can get really, really close and see all the hairs on the body and its eyes. And people are very terrified of these insects and out in nature. And you get a closer look at them, and they're actually pretty cute. They're kind of the panda bear of the insect world.